How are we going, folks? Welcome back to the Nightmare Cabin. And I've got a very special guest tonight. We've got Eyal Levi from Dååth. How's it going, man? This has been a long time coming.
It has been. Thank you for having me. I'm doing great, and I hope you are too. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited to be talking to you about this new release. Um, Regular viewers will know that I'm a big fan of Dååth, and I've done a retrospective. How do you pronounce the? I've always the more
You're pretty
I'm
close.
very
Doth?
Dååth. There we go.
Yeah.
The I did a retrospective video a few, oh, it was about a year or two ago now.
It was right around
Uh,
when we were reuniting,
and
and
that's what,
I really appreciated you doing that, by the way, because not to cut you off, but I just wanted to say I appreciated you doing that because it was people who kept it alive while we were gone, that are the reason um that it's back, really, because if nobody had cared, if we left and no one said anything, and it just we definitely
well,
wouldn't have
it's,
brought it
yeah,
back.
I mean, you were definitely, I know underrated is thrown around a lot nowadays, but I do feel the band never really got the fair crack of the whip for whatever reason. We could go into the history of the band a little bit as it goes on, but if did you just never quite get into that headline status? I mean, you obviously did a lot of touring and a lot of, you were certainly busy during your first initial run. But
So I've had a lot of time to think about it, and my conclusion is that we stopped too early. And um, I think the look, happy bands don't go on hiatus.
yeah,
Like happily married
yeah,
couples don't get divorced. So things were not great in the band, and we didn't have it in us, I guess, to keep going. Too painful. And I think that we were right on the cusp of, like, finally, I guess, getting accepted into the metal community. Or and the reason I think that isn't just, um I'm not just imagining it. The reason I think that is because of our merch sales on the last tour. So the merch sales, that's usually a good indicator of your relationship to the audience. And that was our first tour where the merch sales weren't pretty sad. Like, they were actually pretty good, and they, like, helped make the tour way more comfortable for us. And it was definitely an upgrade. And it was it was the first time that it seemed like things were changing, and then we stopped. So that's why I think it's because we stopped. That Had we
it's
made another record or two, then I think uh we would have gotten our place at the table then.
yeah. Well, you've got this fantastic new album that's going to be dropping on May the 3rd, and
Thank you.
yeah, the Deceivers, and this this album is really, really freaking good, man.
Thanks, man.
It's I've, when I first, I've been looking forward to the album, and you've dropped a couple of songs here and there, and I've got the download sent through, um, and then obviously there was booking interviews, etc. And I listened to it on the way to work, and when you're just driving along and you just go, "Oh yeah, that's nice. What's that song called? Right, keep a note of that." And you go, "Oh, that's good. Right, keep a note of that." And I was just doing that all the way to work, and
Awesome.
every listen afterwards, there's just little details, little licks here and there, little melodies start to stick in your head. And this is such an interwoven, multi-layered album. It really feels you've you've made the album that when people like myself, is it Ironhead, the another really good YouTuber, long hair, big beard, that narrows it down, doesn't it? I think he did a video on the Concealers. But yeah, it feels like people like us that have been, you know, shouting, going, "This band, you've missed them. Check them out." This is the album that we knew that you could make all along. It feels like you've
Well, thank you.
you've arrived.
Thanks for the
You
vote
know,
of confidence. It's not to sound cocky or anything, but that's also one of the reasons that it stayed alive in my head and why I was so like pissed off and depressed about the hiatus the whole time. Because I'm good at like dropping things that are failures. So, I've had businesses that have failed. I've had other bands that never went anywhere, and they're all history to me. Like they don't matter. But this one going on hiatus every single day, it was just like a thorn in my side. It pissed me off so much and it depressed me because it was like we could have done something great, and I'm not just saying that. I know we could have done something great, and we didn't, and like I never ever got over it. And so I feel like when we actually did decide to do it, we had to kind of put our money where our mouth is, kind of thing, and like be like, okay, so were we for real about that or not? Um and we worked really, really, really hard with a lot of pressure to make this the record that I think we had in mind that fans were waiting for after all these years, but that also that we were waiting for. Like to justify how we felt about going on hiatus, I guess.
It's funny as well because re-listening to the first three albums for this as well, and also your Levy and Worcester, the
Yeah, the guitar album,
yeah
Avalanche of
on the
Worms.
which also fits in the catalog perfectly as well. It's kind of like this is your main syllabus and this is your distinction level if you want to earn some extra points. But there was always there was so much going on with the albums anyway, and I think another thing, not to keep going on about the initial run, but it feels like this people didn't quite know what to do with you because you were
Hmm.
it was a little bit of everything, but it was never fully in. You never fully fell into an initial slot, but and you
Yeah,
still don't now,
accurate.
really. But that I mean that in the best possible way as well. But listening to this album reminds me of when I first discovered "Symbolic" by Death. It was just
Wow.
I remember just always listening to that album over and over again because it was like I'm liking it and I'm enjoying it, but I still don't fully understand it. And it's just put it on again, and that's how I am with this album at the moment.
That's great. I'm really, really happy to hear that. Yeah, you are correct that people did not know how to categorize us and made it tough for us on tours. And it seems like nowadays we haven't been out there yet, so I don't know really, but it seems like the genre walls are not quite as high as they used to be. And there's more room for bands that don't fit into a mold, but we shall see. But that's not gonna change how we do things. This will always be what it is, and I think with bands that don't fit a mold, it takes a little longer sometimes, uh, when if they just do their own thing, but eventually that becomes what people love about the band is that they do their own thing. So
Exactly. Yeah. So let's get into how would you call this, a reunion or a reboot, a reformation? How did it? How did the wheels start turning and getting that into motion initially?
so I tried to restart it a few times actually, um, in 2011, 2012, 2013, and 2020. Failed attempts, and not because of me. And this time, um, you know, I happened to have like injured myself pretty badly working out, like a back injury to where I was physically immobilized. And so just like laying on a couch for a long time. There was like basically an entire year where I could barely move, but like in the first few weeks of that year, um, all the mental health benefits of exercising a lot were starting to disappear. And so, I use exercise as an antidepressant, um,
Yes.
along with
Yeah.
other things. It's kind of like a full, you try to hit that holistically, but exercise is a big one for me. And taking that away everything else starts to fall apart. And I was like laying on the couch, and it's like I have all this energy, for like nervous energy, that I can't get out because I can't move. And like demons are starting to get louder again. What can I do? Um, the thought was, well, maybe guitar, because it's like captivating. It takes energy. It's a physical thing. Like if you practice enough, I mean, it's not like working out, but it's still like you will sweat from practicing this kind of music if you
Hmm.
practice it
Yeah.
right. Um, so that was the thinking was, why not try guitar? But then obviously, because I can't do anything casually, the next the next th- the next step was to restart the band. That's like the obvious conclusion of starting guitar again would be this. So that's how.
Oh, great. Well, we've and now we've got the Deceivers coming out in the next couple of weeks, and yeah, I mean, it must feel good to you know, see the artwork, see the logo again, see everything coming together. This is I guess this has been a long process from going.
Yeah, yeah, it feels great. It's awesome. It's wonderful to do it. It's like a miracle, basically, resurrecting the dead. Uh, but my mind's already on now. I have to do something better.
Do you
Um,
want to tell us a little bit about the new lineup as well?
yep. So one of the
So it's
things
just
that
you and
changed,
Sean from the last
yeah,
album, isn't it? And
yeah. So one of the things that changed with the hiatus ending was that when I made the decision to restart it, the decision was with or without anybody. So, and when I spoke to Sean, that was one of the first things I said was, look, I'm doing this with or without anybody. Would you still be in if it's just me and you? He's he said that if I'm in, he's in, and that he's been waiting for the call for like 13 years. So we just decided that we're doing it no matter what. And then pretty quickly we realized that the rest of the old lineup was not going to be joining us, and we needed new people. Um, so it long story short, we ended up getting an amazing new lineup. So we've got Krim playing drums. Krim, he's in Septic Flesh. He's a popular YouTuber. He's one of the best drummers on the face of the planet. And it started as an experiment to just try to write some songs together, no strings attached, just see what happens. Because he was always my first choice. Like he's like my favorite drummer. I think he's perfect for our style. And so we just approached him. We just straight up asked, uh, will you write a couple songs with us? And not session work, but not we don't have to make any commitments. Just let's just write some songs. And one of them ended up being No Rest, No End. And it's kind of like when you do that, it's like, all right, this is valid. Jesse Zaretti, the orchestrator, well, he's been kind of like a really great friend of mine for a decade now. We've worked together a lot, and he was an old school fan of the band. And he was one of the people who was pushing me the hardest to restart this. Like when I started playing guitar again and was like playing with the idea, I was talking to him a lot, and he was one of the most encouraging voices. And also, he really convinced me to let him try orchestrating for No Rest, No End. And when I heard the first version of that, it was like, okay, uh, we should probably work with this guy. Like this guy,
yeah,
we should probably do this thing. He's also a really good guitar player. We're very much in line with each other musically, and with Rafael Trujillo, the newly guitar player. Um, our previously guitar player is like a god among men as far as guitar players goes, one of the best on the planet. It's not a simple thing to replace a guy like that. You
yeah.
can't you can't just pick some shredder. It's got to be like basically a top tier guitar player with their own thing and their own style and like their own identity, I guess.
You got to have
And
that chemistry as well, haven't you?
yeah,
Because
oh
like
yeah, yeah,
you were the two, you were the two main guys, weren't you? For
absolutely. And that's
obviously you
why
did
with
your own
Raphael,
album separately as well, and yeah,
yeah, we didn't just ask him to join. Like it also was like, why don't you play a guest solo? I mean, I wanted when I saw when Krim showed me Raphael's stuff, and I knew I wanted him in the band, but I know better than to just like invite a stranger in after everything we've been through. So yeah, it just started as guest solo, and then another guest solo on the Philosopher cover, and then the final test was help write a song with us, like, and he helped write that song Ascension, which is now a music
mm,
video single. And his contributions were fantastic. They're phenomenal. So we already by that point we had been like collaborating for a year. So it was just good. We knew it would work. And bassist is a guy named David Marvuglio, used to be in Ice Nine Kills. He's a professor at Berkeley, and similar sort of thing. Started off like, why don't we do session work on a few of the songs, see how it goes. That was the first three songs. And that led to him joining the band. So none, it happened quickly, and it was all with our first choices, but none of it was like haphazard, I guess.
I mean, yeah, the results speak for itself, and it seems like it was all meant to be. And yeah, so people watching, the album's not yet released as this comes out, but there are videos. But I can't wait for everyone to hear it, and as soon as my copy turns up, I'll be showing it off and doing an in-depth review about the album. So while we've got some time left, can we do a bit of a retrospective on the
Yep.
previous albums? So the Hinderers, this album is aged wonderfully. It's still very early in the development of Dååth, but if I suppose you've got so many different elements of the sound sort of spread out. I mean, you've got 13 tracks, and
Hmm.
everything from like song like Subterfuge to Dead on the Dance Floor and everything in between. It feels like on the Concealers, everything's just sort of tightened up. But like when you pull laces on a trainer, it all just
Yep.
you know. But yeah, you've got a lot going on this album, and yeah, how do you feel about this album now today, looking back on it?
So I feel like it's too long. But so the thing about the Hinderers, no, I'm actually really proud of it, and I'm amazed that people still care about it. It's awesome. Uh, that's at a stage of development where, um, as an artist, like you can if you follow the path of an artist's like career, you can see that there's phases like when they're trying to figure out who they are, when they start to refine who they are,
Yeah,
so they start to get mastery over who they are. And in the Hinderers era, we were starting to figure out who we were, but we were still running lots of experiments. I mean, I'll still experiment now, but not in the same way. It's like now it's a very, very defined vision. Now, with the Hinderers, there was a vision for sure. Like the vision has always been to have this like epic band that had no rules, that combined like extreme metal, death metal, and black metal, but like also with orchestration, with synth, and with like really good songs, and with like crushing grooves, and Beatles like clean parts, and
hmm.
just this like there was this idea in my head for what the band was going to be, and the Hinderers is kind of like first like early versions of it, but I still think there's some bangers on it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Some absolute bangers on it, and that album changed my life. Like it was specifically like when I wrote Ovum, like I remember thinking, I need, we need to like step it up here. Like we need something that sounds like a real band, like a real band that would be on like a label like Roadrunner. Not like, I don't mean like like simulate that. Like we just need to level up here. and I need to be hearing our music on that level. And once I changed that mindset, like the first thing I wrote was Ovum, and then Ovum ended up being the song that got Roadrunner talking to us,
Yeah. Because
and it's
James
a fan
Murphy
favorite.
produced this as well, didn't he? You did do an album
Oh,
before this, didn't you?
co-produced. We'll say
Co-produced, sorry.
co-produced.
Yeah.
The crediting on the album's a little murky.
Right. Yeah.
Like so because like
Oh,
credit
mixed
where
by Colin Richardson as well. Yeah.
James was a huge
Mm.
help in our career. So he mixed the original version of The Hinderers, which was the 10-song version,
Right.
and he re-recorded the vocals. And uh, I guess he didn't like the vocals we recorded, so he re-recorded the vocals, um, and played a guest solo, and then did the mix. Then we got signed to Roadrunner, and then we added a few more songs. We recorded some of the parts of those songs at his place in Florida, and then Colin Richardson mixed it.
Right.
Um, but but yeah, like that album changed my life, so it's fond memories.
Yeah. So then you got the Concealers in 2009. Um, Michael Cameron leaves, Sean Farber, the vocalist, leaves, and so you get a new second album, new singer, but um, minus the keyboard player. Although you do still keep sort of electronic elements in the
Yeah.
background, but you've always this. It's never quite left the band, but when it has been there, it's never been overpowering either. Some bands just throw it in, don't they? With
Yeah.
the
So
aggression.
just to
Right.
clarify something, our original vocalist was Cameron. Farber was just a live vocalist. So it went from Cameron to Sean Z.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, that's a little unclear about those days because Farber came in to to like to be like our live vocalist because Mike couldn't tour, and for whatever reasons, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he so and then it ended up that Farber, it wasn't for him, and so we got Z, and
The
you know,
rest is history.
rest
Yeah.
is history. Yeah. So Concealers, so basically Concealers was looking at the Hinderers and being like, that album, it goes in like 8 million directions. Why don't we take the same level of energy and like focus it like a laser, basically? Kind of like we were listening to like Countdown to Extinction or something, to where like it's just so like razor tight and so precise. Not like computer precise, but like everything
No,
done with
this is the
ultimate
hinderers.
intention.
Yeah, being put in the fire.
Yeah.
What's not needed is burnt off, and then what's left is the steel. Yeah.
Yeah, basically. But I mean, it's still like we still have like a lot of people who maybe didn't listen to the whole record or something who say that we dropped all the extra elements because they're all in there. Like most songs have some synth in them. We still have all the trippy stuff. It's just in a much more like it's in a much tighter package, basically.
Yeah, I mean, a track like Dust Storm, for example,
Yeah,
and
yeah. Or Poison Sorrows or The Unbinding Truth,
mhm.
like or Translucent Potency or The Worthless. I mean, it's all over the record. It's just the other thing was also we didn't get enough attention, in our opinion, as a guitar band on the Hinderers. Like that element was overlooked. And like even though like I was like, we have like some of the best solos in metal and no one even cares. Like we need to like go guitar forward. So that it was also kind of it was also like meant to be a guitar statement.
Yeah, no, that comes through on that album as well, definitely. So, how much time have we got left? Because I know you're on a schedule.
Like 20 minutes,
Oh, right.
23
Oh,
minutes.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. So, yeah. So then you did the Avalanche of Worms album. How did that come about? Um, to do
So
that?
Mike Varney, the founder of Shrapnel Records, um, you know, the guy that discovered all those shredders in the 80s, uh, discovered us. I guess me and Emil, our previously guitar player, did a track for some compilation that Magna Carta Shrapnel Records were putting out. Bumblefoot, who
Yeah,
I think he was the Guns N' Roses lead guitar player at the time.
yeah.
Either way, Guns N' Roses or not, like he is and was a guitar player that guitar players worshiped. And uh, we got asked if we wanted to contribute to this compilation record that he was making. And it was basically you would get one guy from one band uh, collaborating with a guy from another band. And we were offered to collaborate with like the rhythm section from Opeth. Uh, so
Oh, right.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're like at that time, even at that time, they were like one of my favorite bands on earth. So like that was just awesome. And I guess the track that we got, uh, no shade at anybody, but it had all these melodies on it, and they just wanted us to play a couple solos. And I just remember, I don't remember exactly how the conversation went because it was a long time ago, but it was something along the lines of either I listened to it and talked to Emil about it, or we talked about it together. But the thought was, this is not gonna fly for us. Like, we can't. This track's not that great. It's okay, but like, there's a lot of like cheeseball melodies, and then we're gonna solo on this. And the thing about Dååth is like the songs are awesome. Like we value songwriting a lot. It's not just meant to be like shred, like shred guitar over shitty songs. So we felt like it would be misrepresenting us, not how we wanted to be uh represented in this world. So we just kind of pulled an asshole move and rewrote all of the melodies. So like basically all that's there from the original are the drums, the bass, and the like backing guitars. The rest we went crazy. So yeah, we gave solos, but we also just added like a lot of stuff in our style. And I guess the founder of the label heard it and just decided that uh, we we needed to do more guitar music, like that we needed to be known for our guitar playing and writing, and felt like Dååth wasn't enough of a vehicle for that.
Hmm.
So he offered us a deal to make a guitar album.
Yeah. And this was a gem. The stupidly, I hadn't heard it when I did my last video, and I kind of brushed it off. I think I said it was going to be like a just a guitarist widdly widdly album or something like
Yeah,
that. And
one of those.
you messaged me, went, no, mate, give it a try. It was, and yeah, so I picked it up and yeah, at my hat. So more for me, but yeah, this is definitely a gem worth checking out, folks.
Thanks.
And
Really proud of that one. It's definitely not like one of those Weedly albums. Like it's got crazy solos, but it's meant to be music, like real music. That
you know, to me, it's like listening to like a prog album or something like that. You
yeah,
put it on for a long drive and you just get taken away with it. So no, it's one of those albums that you don't bring out often, but you when you're in the mood for it, nothing will
hmm
suffice. You know, one of those.
awesome.
So and then in 2010, we got the self-titled album,
Yep.
and let's get the booklet out so it doesn't glare. And this is another great album, and
Thanks.
many hidden gems on this one as well. And it's Indestructible Overdose is a favorite, and Oxygen Burn. No, that's the one. Arch Enemy, Misanthrope. Love that song.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, you just carried on where you left off with the Concealers. But like I say, with the Concealers, it's like you tightened everything up. This one, you just start to expand again a little bit. And
Yes, it's a very pissed off album too. Um, and I think that it's a really good representation of where we were at. Uh, we kind of felt like it was going to be the last thing we did. Like that was kind of the running understanding among everybody.
It was like
We
a
just knew.
going down fighting
Yeah.
mentality.
Yeah, we're taking it down in flames kind of thing. And it's got that vibe throughout the record, and the mix is like totally raw. Like if like if it if this if I had my mindset now making that record, it wouldn't sound the way that it sounds. It would have like a huge, much more polished production. But the fact that it's so raw, uh, it's just representative of like how things were at that time. And I think that actually that record, um, a lot of people didn't give it a chance because the production is so raw. That turned a lot of people off. But I mean, it's authentic. That's uh that's we were feeling pretty raw back then. It's definitely out of the first batch of albums, it's by far the most technical. It's the fastest. It's the craziest. It's like it's pretty over the top. Um, there's a few songs on there that I think are total bangers, like Indestructible Overdose.
Hmm.
Uh, Overall, though, I don't have the fondest memories of that album.
Right. It's tough times, I guess.
Yes,
The atmosphere of the band at the time. So yeah, now we're up to present day, and yeah, I guess we'll just speak a little bit more on the album. Then, was there some overall themes that you wanted to work with, like lyrically, or there's again, I mentioned earlier just how it feels like the songs are just multi-layered. It feels like you've been writing it for the last 13 years. Basically, you've just, I think,
thanks.
I remember speaking to Lee Harrison of Monstrosity, and they've released an album, and I think it was about 10 years or something since their previous one. And he sort of said, well, the album was ready to come out, but then this happened and that happened, but we carried on writing songs. So then as new songs came in, this song got dropped and then that song got dropped. He went, so basically what you've got is the best of two, maybe three albums, just all concerned.
Mm,
And do you think something like that's gone on?
no,
But
definitely
just
not.
a
No,
no, I don't
it's
mean
new.
like, oh, you've just written a lot of songs and it's all just been thing, but I don't know, it just it's just so you've got nine perfect slices and they all just interwoven in
Thanks.
together nicely. And
It's there's only one riff on the whole album that predates us getting back together to write the album.
mm,
There's like one riff and No Rest, No End under a solo
yeah,
that is from like one of the original demos. But otherwise it's all new. And we specifically didn't want to go back to the vault or anything like that. We wanted it to be as fresh as possible. And we had the confidence. We felt confident that we didn't have to go backwards, that we had enough to say that we could do all new music. And part of part of coming back also is it's really really important that this album, this reunion, is not a bummer, like a lot of reunions are. A lot of reunion albums or comeback albums or whatever are uh okay, but as a fan, I know this as a fan, and I know this from just paying attention, that lots of times bands come back and fans are disappointed. It's like they've been waiting for something and they get something kind of that doesn't meet expectations. Um, and the last thing we want to do is to put this much work into something, to have people like keep this alive for this long and then disappoint fans and ourselves. So it had to be not only like objectively the best thing we've done, but also very very current. Like it couldn't sound like some old band that had been dormant for a decade, just like getting bored, taking their kids to school, just deciding to like resurrect a hobby. Like
yeah,
it had
going
to
back to the
sound like,
glory days or something like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
Yeah,
no, nothing like that. It had to sound It had to be the real deal. Um, and so it just seemed like the only way to do that is to go to look forwards, not backwards
Yeah,
with
and
the
you've
music.
certainly achieved that. And I think as well, you know, fans of the band initially are going to be really pleased with this album, but I think hopefully you're going to pick up a whole new generation of new fans as well. They're going to pick up on this album and then work their way backwards. Are the original albums going to be reissued at all? Is there any plans for that?
Well, I mean, The Hinderers was put out on vinyl by Metal Blade
Oh,
this
it
past
was.
year,
Okay. Right.
which is really cool. And hopefully, if the Deceivers does well, they'll want to put out the Concealers on
Yeah.
vinyl too. That would be really cool. We might even press at some point Futility, which is the one that we did pre the Hinderers. It's basically like a full length demo from 2004. But there's a category of our fans who don't give up on Futility. It just I don't know why, but for them we might press that
That'd be
on our own.
cool. Yeah. That's the one. Obviously, I've not got that one, but I've
Yeah, I don't
listened
blame
to it on a. What's that?
I don't blame you. But
You know what us metalers are like? We're completists. It doesn't matter if we've got to have everything. But
yeah, I mean, but there's some people who really love Futility and who might it knock. So we might release that, but the Deceivers, hopefully it does well enough to justify everything. That's my big goal right now is that we get to the next record. So that this does well enough, and people love it enough to justify us making the next one.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Hopefully so. Long may this continue. The live shows as well. Is that on the cards? I mean, you're going to be spoilt for choice when it comes to picking what to play.
it's
Um,
in the cards for
on
sure.
the cards,
Working on it
excellent.
right now.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm really looking forward to this album being out, and yeah, I hope this is the new era of Dååth, and going forward, I hope this is there's many more albums to come, and yeah, I hope it all starts here. And when that new album comes out, I hope you come back. And thank you all for watching. If this is your first video, please in description check out my last video where I did a retrospective of the band's albums, and come back in the next couple of weeks when the album is released. I'll be doing an unboxing and an in-depth review, and we'll be talking about the album. And yeah, if there's anything you want to plug before going, then
I
fire
just want to
away.
thank you. I just want to thank you for taking the time. If anyone wants the album, you can just go to dothofficial.com, uh, pre-order it or order it, regardless of where you're at in the world. That's where you'll find links to wherever. But and supporting that album, if you've stuck with us all this time and you love the Deceivers and you want us to make more, that is the easiest way to guarantee we'll make another one. Uh, because the label will be happy and we'll pick up the option on the next one. And that's what we'd like to do. We don't intend on stopping this time. And really, I just want to shout out and say thank you to fans that kept it alive this entire time. Like without them, this wouldn't be happening. So yeah, it's I would, like I said at the beginning, I wouldn't have thought to resurrect this if it wasn't for people hitting me up every single day for over a decade, or people such as yourselves making that retrospective video. Like all those things uh, gave me an indicator that I should probably do this.
Excellent, man. Yeah. So again, it's when you hear this record, folks, you'll know this is totally worth it. And yeah, this is very special. This is definitely worth your attention. So check back for my review when it comes out, and check out the band when live dates are announced. And yeah, again, Eyal, thanks for watching. Thanks for joining me, and
Dude,
it's been
thank you.
great talking to you.
Likewise, man. Thanks so much.